or welcome to my channel. And I know that sometimes the information is a little dizzying. Just hang in there and it'll be, the clues will kind of clump together after a while. And I'll try to repeat a few things. Here we can see, I have drawings of all this. We can see that her left hand goes to the owl over here, the Capitol building, which is at the bottom of the cross. This is an eyeball, and it has a 33-degree view right here. I believe this is where the Pope's going to be speaking, and he's going to be speaking along this meridian, which is a 269 meridian, through the scope of this 33rd degree. These legs of this is both the legs of the owl, and it's also this eye. See the eye right here? And I talk a lot about eyes, eye symbolism, eye gematria, and more. Also, when I was first looking at the situation, I thought that they were going to probably assassinate them, or whoever they were planning to assassinate. I thought they would do it over here because there is a Solomon temple type of overlay here, and I guess there were sacrificial sites there. Let me see if I can pull that up for you. So I am not sure about my positioning of this. I'm not a Solomon's Temple expert, but I did line these things up. These are, I believe, pillars in the original Solomon's Temple. I had to stretch it because all the dimensions are different, and I spend a lot of time trying to figure out how this goes. This over here, according to this, is the Holy of Holies, and I think these are the pillars that would be the Freemason pillars that make up the arch. So I had to break in on the video here. I have another video where I lay this down in the mirror image, because it took me a while to figure out that when things are on the ground in Google Earth, they're usually in their mirror image to what you think they're going to be, and that puts the Holy of Holies over by the Capitol building. So I did leave this in with the Holy of Holies inverted because I'm actually still not sure which way it's supposed to go. But I wanted to tell you that these five don't line up as well, but the Holy of Holies makes more sense on the other side. It's very possible that this actually goes over here, and that maybe if I pulled this sideways, I don't know, I don't actually, so I tried it the other way and it didn't really fit, but I don't know where they would do a sacrifice on this Solomon's Temple. Maybe you know, and you can tell me in the comments. I had thought, these could also be the pillars right here. What I had thought when I laid this over is that these pillars were going to line up with this and this, or maybe they should line up with this and this, and that the sacrifice would happen right between there. But now, looking at these other numbers and the 44 gematria association with the Pope and the heading from Georgia Guidestones, I'm thinking it might be more poetic to have this be the direction of the false flag assault, and this be the location. So from this position you can see her arms and her curves and the fish here. This is the ancient Egyptian sky goddess fish. Now, one thing I want to point out, when I was looking at some of the writings about Masonic, the strange gods of Masonry, god names that we don't recognize, and most people aren't familiar with Osiris and Isis worship. I am not either. This is, kind of new to me too. But what I want to point out is most of the articles that I read about about Masonic allegiances to strange gods, and I'm not saying the Masons or Freemasons are good. I mean, I'm saying there's probably some well-intentioned ones, and there's probably the whole diversity of well-intentioned and not well-intentioned ones. But here's a logic error that I want to point out. If someone is using the Bible, which is written and edited by the Freemason Francis Bacon and through the Jesuit Vatican, which is also Zionist, if someone is reading that and steeped in that, and they're using that document to call these other Freemasonry gods or behaviors blasphemous or demonic, I think that is possibly an example of controlled opposition, because it is so illogical. Now, I know that humans are illogical. They will stand there, they will hold in their hand a Freemason Vatican document and use that as grounds for logic to call Freemasons blasphemous and that they're worshiping the wrong God. Well, who do you, I don't know, can you see the logic error here? I hope you can see it. Leave me a comment if you can see the logic error here. You can't hold a document, you can't hold a propaganda document in your hand and point a finger, because your finger's pointing in ignorance, because all of your information is propaganda. Do you see what I'm saying? So, because what I learned yesterday, and I want to show this to you, I'm going to have to bring it to you in another video, because I'm going to try to keep this one under 20 minutes. I have 3 more minutes. That the God that they worship, and I can't remember the name, it's like a 3-syllable name, and I guess they hold hands and raise their hands and chant and walk in circles. I don't know what they do, but it's a composition name of Yahweh, Baal, and Osiris, and the Yahweh is interchangeable with Jehovah. I believe those are 2 separate dudes. They are not actually gods. They are Anunnaki. They're fallen Nephilim. And we can tell that because they behave badly. They ask for child sacrifice. They do things that logically, a 6-year-old could tell you that is not divine action. So mostly what I want to say is I do want to get into the beliefs of these people to help us understand why all of this is here and what they are planning to do. But I want to point out every article that I reference is written by somebody who doesn't understand that they can't hold propaganda in their hand and use that as a basis to judge. Because the Freemasons, if you look at this from above, if the Freemasons edited it and wrote the Bible, mixing it in with the Torah, and then they give that to you to read, and they teach that in your schools and your churches, and then they go to a different church, and they're the ones in charge. They're the ones who have the libraries. They don't give us the libraries. They have all the information. It's all hidden. We don't get to see that. Think about who has more information than who, and who controls whose information. So we can't stand here and point fingers and say what's blasphemous and what's not. All we can do is say, A, that logic is ridiculous, to point fingers from a point of ignorance when you've been trained by the Freemasons, and B, there's no way that we can know whether their information is better than whether they're on the right track of, whether they're honestly, like what I want to say is whether they're honestly seeking essence. Okay, what I want to say is whether they're honestly seeking a sincere type of religion. For all we know, they could have taught you the wrong God, the dark God to worship and keep all of the good information for themselves. So we really don't know what they were up to. All right, well, I hope you like this part. Stay tuned for the next part. This is Dandelion Song. If you're new to my channel, welcome. And I'll talk to you soon.